Let's talk about some of your gear. I know in the book you talked about there was some groups that people who helped you kind of thin out your gear a little bit because if you're like me, like I carry a ton of stuff and then you get to like I really don't need this. I could probably do something, pack this a little bit different. So
definitely, that was a real learning experience for me. Prior to the Appalachian Trail, the longest backpacking trip I had ever done was 3 days, 2 nights. So I had a lot of learning to do. It was a steep learning curve. I did a lot of research. Whiteblaze.net was a resource that I used all the time for gear that was recommended. I especially looked for gear recommended by other women, partially because I'm shorter. I don't need the same sleeping bag as a man who's 6'2". And also clothing is a little bit different for women. There's some things women have to think about that guys don't. And other personal hygiene gear, things like that are a little different for men and women. But there is a place on the Appalachian Trail, you're about 30 miles into the trail, where they will actually unpack your whole pack and review it for you and suggest things for you to send home, things you could replace or make lighter, just ways to make your pack more comfortable. And I did take advantage of that resource. I was very happy that they only found a few things that were extra. I had really worked to reduce my pack weight prior to that, but I did send home a box of assorted goods to my parents and just kind of said, don't need this stuff anymore. It was great to reduce my pack weight some, and I was able to drop my pack weight throughout the course of the whole trail by about 10 pounds.
Awesome. And that's one of the things, like I think you guys, my subscribers, my viewers are going to be interested in talking about the gear, because we're all gear hoarders. Yeah, I mean, I've got tons of backpacks. My wife's always like, what do you need all this stuff for? So let's talk about some of the gear that you took with you, some of the stuff that you found that could not live without, and some stuff that you sent back that you really didn't need.
Definitely. So the funniest thing I sent back that everybody gets a kick out of in my book was all of my underwear. Turns out that hikers, particularly women, find some problems with clothing always being wet, comfort, rashes, things like that. So I actually mailed home all of my underwear from the first town. That was, I think, a big laugh to my parents, but did help my hiking style a lot, made me more comfortable. I switched out my water bottles from the traditional Nalgene that you might carry every day to Gatorade bottles, which are reusable, lightweight, and replaceable easily in town, so that was a nice change. I started sharing some gear with a hiking partner, which helped a lot to bring weight down. Didn't necessarily change my selections, just didn't have to carry 2 of everything, which does help if you have that ability. I did change packs halfway through the trail. I used a Gregory for the first half and loved it. It fit me well. It was a strong, durable pack, but it was a little bit heavy. And I actually had the opportunity to try out to be a tester for a Mountain Hardwear Exodus pack for the second half of the trail. I wrote an essay and applied to be one of their testers. They selected me, and so I actually wore this new tester product, and I sent postcards all along the trail back to them reviewing what worked and what didn't. It was a great pack. I used it up until about 3 months ago, actually. And it was actually a combination internal-external frame that's molded to your body, which I found to be really neat. It gave you a little bit more movement. You could turn better side to side and had better reach when you were climbing, which for somebody who's a little vertically challenged like me was especially important.
I've done several reviews on different water purifications. Water's a big deal. You can't live without it for very long. So having fresh water is extremely important because drinking dirty water can make you very sick. So talk about how you made sure you didn't get sick and how you had clean water.
Well, definitely. My background before EMS was actually in outdoor education. And in my survival classes, one of the things we taught, we kind of taught the theory of 3s. So you can live approximately 3 minutes without air, 3 days without water, 3 weeks without food. And for the water part on the trail, that was extremely important. You're using water sources where you have no idea what's upstream from you. There could be an animal in the river, there could be people contaminating the sources, and just me personally, I never took that risk. I purified all of the water that I drank. On the Appalachian Trail, I use what's called a myox, and it's actually about the diameter of a quarter, the width of or the length of a ballpoint pen, and you use it. It's a combination of salt and the water that you're purifying. It makes a brine solution and actually purifies the water. It takes about 30 minutes to get rid of Giardia and 4 hours for Cryptosporium, which you don't need to worry about on the East Coast actually. And it operates using batteries. So I found it worked great. They have a hilarious tagline, which is that you are getting rid of bacteria you can't pronounce using technology you don't understand. I loved it, except I found in cold water it was a little bit difficult with the batteries, and also sometimes you got rust on part of the applicator for the battery and had to have something like a Brillo pad or something to fix it. While I did enjoy it on the trail, I'm not choosing to use that for future hikes. I'm actually now using a system where you actually scoop the water into a bag, and through gravity it drains through a filter. I think it does something like 200,000 gallons of water before needing to be replaced. It's been an interesting change in the way I do my hiking, but something I've really enjoyed.
So between your different stop points, how did you make sure you had enough food, that you were taking enough calories to keep hiking and be healthy with your hike?
That's a great question. I like to eat too. I definitely get hungry cranky, and that was not something I wanted for me or anyone around me on the trail. I wish I could say I planned my meals really well on the Appalachian Trail, but I was young and somewhat naive. So I ate a lot of Snickers bars, a lot of junk food. It's kind of amazing. I lived through the trail. I'm not sure I saw a vegetable for 6 months. And that's something that I've really changed now in the way that I prepare and handle my food. But for the Appalachian Trail, some people do what are called mail drops, where you prepare food ahead of time and send it to yourself in a town, and then you pick it up at a post office or a business and use those foods. I did that a couple places that were very remote, but for the most part I relied on stores and towns to resupply my food. A lot of things like Lipton noodles, instant mashed potatoes, minute rice, things that were very quick and heavy in carbohydrates. The literature says that you burn approximately 8,000 calories a day while you're through hiking. Particularly if you're using poles, that kind of adds a little bit to your calorie burn, which I did use. So you can't eat enough. You just eat nonstop all day long and you're still hungry. And I think part of that was I wasn't eating the right foods. So now when I hike, I'm a little bit more focused on making sure I have the right combination of things, that I'm getting enough protein, that I actually eat vegetables. Turns out you need those as you become an adult. And just making sure that my health needs are met, in addition to just the cravings for the sweet and salty foods on the trail.
So you wrote this book, Love at First Hike. What have you learned from that experience you're going to take moving forward into your next hike?
Well, I think I've learned a lot as far as just confidence in my body, knowing how to be flexible with the trail. You make a plan, you make mileage. I'm very kind of OCD in my normal life. I want my life to work just the way I planned it out, and the trail is not like that. You plan your mileage, you think this is where you're going to end up or how far you'll hike, and it never happens the way you plan it. So I think I'm more comfortable with that knowledge that I will finish the trail. I will get to everywhere I need to get to, and I don't need to worry about it. And that's a good feeling, to know that it'll work out and I don't need to worry about it. But maybe one of the biggest things I'm changing is the way that I'll be eating. So instead of eating all Snickers bars and Lipton noodles, and don't get me wrong, there will be Snickers bars.
They're good.
I'm dehydrating all of my own meals. And so that makes sure that I'm getting more the right kinds of proteins, but also vegetables. There will actually be vegetables in my meals, and I think I'll feel better, but I won't have as much sodium or preservatives in my meals either, which gives me more control over what's in my diet, and portion sizes, which is really nice too.
Cool.